hosting the Labour Party conference today. We've got a big event on Hope Street. There's another event, so everybody's all over the city. So I'm just glad that you're here and you chose us, which is fantastic. As I said in the introduction earlier, just get out of the way so you can see Lisa. The whole point of bringing this particular conference together in the space is not just looking at art and culture and the impact that it makes on society, but looking at some of those broader strokes, those broader conversations around inequality and how that's playing out in lots of different ways, from a sociological way, from a psychological way, but also from an art form way. So I'm really excited that Dr. Leona Vaughan, we met recently and we just got having a conversation, and I thought I want this conversation to be had here in the conference, and we started to build that up by inviting other panelists. So I'm really delighted to be having this conversation with you, to be sharing Leona and the panel. So we've got Steph, who I've just introduced myself to because I thought she was somebody else. We've got Natasha. Have you come from London, Natasha? You're Brighton, London. So we've got Dr. Leona, who I've mentioned. We've got the wonderful Jennifer John, who a lot of you will know locally, singer extraordinaire, choirist, conductor, the whole shebang. I was at an event actually in the Pierhead. What was that one called? Cream Classicals. Oh my God, I was raving away. It was fantastic. And Jenny was there with all the team. It was just wonderful. And then we've got Lisa. And again, Lisa's come again through an introduction from Miguel, who I spoke about earlier, as part of that team that we've had to bring various people to you. So please come in. We're only just getting started. Come down. Come down. So without further ado, this is my microphone, isn't it? Yeah, I'll walk away with it. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks so much, Karen. So I'll just introduce myself in a little bit more detail. My name's Leona Vaughan. I've worked in race equality, social justice for the past 30 years. Most recently within academia, so my work in the university, I work at the University of Liverpool. I was working at the United Nations University, is about social policy, so risk, harm and prevention in social policy. My PhD looked at children and safeguarding and counter-terrorism. My postdoctoral work has looked at hate crimes, it's looked at modern slavery, and it's also looked at COVID prevention narratives. So I'm going to quickly introduce in more detail these incredible women that are sitting here with me. Firstly, Jennifer John. You will have seen Jennifer's biography online, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit more. Jennifer arrived in Liverpool from East London in 1983, studying for a 2-year diploma in jazz, piano and voice. Never left. This is Liverpool. So Jennifer very quickly immersed into the fabric of Liverpool's music scene by forming bands, releasing records, touring with iconic club collective G-Love, and spearheading the creation of the all-female award-winning singing organisation Sense of Sound. So Jennifer is currently working in music still, building your ever-expanding catalogue of impressive clients and collaborators, including Modern Sky Entertainment UK, Cream Classical, which we heard Karen was raving to, and The Voice UK. So I'm going to move to this side. I'm going to introduce Stephanie Walker. So Stephanie is a qualified psychotherapist, educator, transformation manager, and co-founder and trustee of the Anthony Walker Foundation. For those who don't know about the foundation was set up after the murder of Stephanie's brother Anthony in 2005 in a racist attack. So she is an expert by experience as well as an expert in her field on racial trauma, and aims to weave together personal truth and professional insight and expertise to champion healing, empowerment and racial justice. Please do. And we've got Natasha Saki. So Natasha is a registered dance movement psychotherapist and somatic body mapping practitioner who specialises in embodied movement for healing and transformation. Her work includes work on embodiment, race, body and race trauma, and her work explores how movement can be a powerful pathway to repair, restoration and embodied liberation. Yes. And last but not least is the wonderful Lisa Shocko. Lisa is a consultant, strategist and advocate for equity and justice, specialising in race, inclusion and leadership, as co-chair of the Liverpool City Region Race Equality Panel and founder of Venakai. She drives systemic change in organisational culture, healthcare and leadership practice, turning challenging conversations into meaningful actions. Lisa works with leaders, communities and institutions to dismantle structural barriers and create lasting, equitable change. Please do give it up for these amazing women. So, I'll just give a little bit of background. You might be thinking, the title of this panel is In Slavery's Wake, and you're probably thinking, what even does that mean? So, or you might not. But I'll just explain what my thinking was behind this when I proposed this to Karen. You will have heard here all of the topics that these incredible speakers are going to touch upon around healing, liberation, real embodied practice in singing and dance and movement that relates to this topic. And the reason why I wanted to explore it in this way is, and I'm sad that Michelle Charters is no longer here, so Michelle was here this morning, head of the International Slavery Museum. But it's a very important conversation for us to be having, not only in this city, but certainly in this country and at this time. In Slavery's Wake is used by multiple artists as well as academic writers and thinkers. But the inspiration that I took really was from the work that was done by, I'll give you the proper title, the work that was done by Christina Sharp in her book, In the Wake. And she talks about the wake being a number of different things. So when you think about slavery, and you think about the wake, well, what is the wake? Well, the wake could be part of grieving, thinking about everything that was lost and removed from us. I speak as someone as part of the diaspora, my family from Barbados, Bajans in the house. My daughter told me today I dressed like I should be serving a roasted chicken sandwich. So if any Bajans in the house understand, the purple and the mustard is chefette. Anyway, but like I say, I speak as a person of that diaspora. And when we think about, obviously we think about the wake as in loss, but she also talks about the wake as in rupture. So a rupture for understanding things better and a rupture for creating better things in the future. But I think we're in this weird moment, aren't we, where the wake is probably all of those things at the same time. So we're seeing the rupture, we know the environmental damage of slavery and its legacies. We know, or to use Saidiya Hartman's language, the afterlives of slavery. We know the physical damage. We've heard about the research on epigenetic harm. So what has it done to our DNA, in terms of that prolonged exposure to brutality, to famine. What we're seeing today in Gaza, the restriction on food is something that we saw for African peoples over centuries. So this is something that's been a fine-tuned weapon of colonialism, and it was finessed in slavery. So we're seeing a lot of those legacies today. We're also seeing people don't want us to be awake to those legacies. Unfortunately, I'm not going to bring his name into the room. For any Harry Potter fans, but the name that we shall never say. But I'm not going to bring his name into the room, but we see, and it's not just there, it's not just in America, we see real pushback around us knowing and understanding the entirety of our histories. And so we get this anti-woke culture that actually we need to be awake. We need to be awake. We need to be understanding what is happening today, why it's happening. And so Christina Sharp writes about doing wake work from enslavement to the current day as a method of artistic production and resistance to seek what she says, understanding and addressing the violations of black life. So I'm going to mention Assata Shakur here, and I'm going to mention it again at the end of the panel, absolutely. Assata Shakur, who ascended to the ancestors yesterday, but was part of the Black Panther Party, which explains the purple T-shirt, okay, all right? And also part of the Black Liberation Army in the US. So she, I think, embodies what we talk about when we talk about black radical tradition. The black radical tradition is to find different ways of getting people to stay awake, well, also to wake up and to stay awake and alert to racism and white supremacy. And these traditions, like I said, have really been weaponized in the current moment. So why are we talking about this now is probably the most important part of this conversation. You know, when we talk about health and well-being, we can't ignore the benefits that dance, music, and movement brings to health and well-being. But what is the potential, and this is where I'm going to come to my panelists here, what is the potential for those areas of expertise to also contribute to healing, to repair, to justice, and to liberation? I don't know whether people are aware that we're now in the second decade of the people of African descent. So the United Nations made the unprecedented decision to have a consecutive second decade for people of African descent. Why? Because they said actually in the time of the first decade, which ran until last year, things had got so phenomenally worse. They had worsened globally for all people of African descent that actually we had to restart the clock and really, really focus states' minds on what needs to be done to improve the position for people of African descent around the world. So this is the beginning of the second decade. And a part of what they're focused on is about healing and reparatory justice. So reparatory justice, not just reparations, cash, but for me, also cash, please. But reparatory justice in terms of what do we do to make good what we have harmed, what we have taken, what we have lost. So I'm going to start the conversation. I'm going to go to Lisa first, if that's okay, Lisa. And my first question to you is, how does the title of this panel, and maybe some of the things that I've just said in my opening remarks, speak to you in relation to your practice? And I'm going to ask actually all of you to contribute to that.
Thank you. So a lot of the work that I do being around anti-racism has to do with first looking back to even the question, what is race? What is racism? And maybe even looking further back and asking questions about colonization and questions about empire and questions about white supremacy. And I think to get to the healing and to the repair, you have to really understand what has happened before. And I think this question for me, as it relates to my work, is about that internal interrogation of the harm that has happened, and recognizing that sometimes it doesn't just sit with you because you are in this body. It's also maybe about the intergenerational effect of slavery, of colonialism, and of racism. And so then how we show up, I guess, in the world. When I'm thinking about the work of repairing damage, I do think that it has to start internally, but I also think that it's work that should be done collectively with our communities. And work where accountability is increasingly important rather than just virtue signaling or gestures of repairing that don't quite create an impact, and that's what the work I do calls for. It asks the question, how can we go further than just calling for race equality? How can we start transforming our systems, trying to edge forward towards having equity is not working. We have to call for an entire overhaul on the systems that we have, because the way in which they were created with white bodies in mind and white supremacy in mind, and the maintenance of that, and living in a multicultural Britain based on all of the history that we have, calls for a shift in how our organizations, I guess, deal with blackness and understand it. Right.
Thanks, Lisa. Jennifer, would you like to respond? Because Lisa, you work within the healthcare system as well, don't you? So you see the impact in terms of, understanding that for white bodies and black bodies there are inherent inequalities within that system. But Jennifer, your work sort of coming at it from the creative side as well. How does your work, how did you feel connected to this title of the panel?
This subject upsets me deeply because yet again we're having the same conversation, just in a different time space. And I think as black people, none of us are surprised by what we're seeing. I'm not surprised by hearing this again. For me personally, creativity was always the thing that saved me, because the legacy of slavery was that as a first generation English child of parents who came from Trinidad, they came to England because they believed the lie that this would be the land of milk and honey. And even though when they came, they came almost in a reverential way. They came to obey the rules and to follow the traditions of this place so that our lives could be easier. And they achieved that, because the fact that I can sit here and talk about it means that life is easier. My parents didn't have an education. They left school for a variety of reasons. And so the fact that they sacrificed what they sacrificed so that I could have an education, and the fact that I choose to have a voice, means that something about that has worked. But the fact that my name is not my own, the fact that we are having this conversation again, and the fact that we have to find solutions to justify why we can walk the streets in peace, makes me really angry. I chose, and I've always chosen that the creation of everything that I do in terms of singing is about collective voices, because when we bring people together, that's our visibility, and without having to say where we're coming from, it speaks volumes, because I make sure that when I put singers together, those singers don't look like each other, because it gives a message of where we are coming from. It's very deliberate, but it annoys me that I am even sitting on a panel having to talk about why, because it means I don't have equality, and we don't have equality, and it's not okay. But the choices I make constantly, and I will continue to make through my life, is that I will fight for our voices to be heard, for our faces to be seen, and for this message to be repeated time and time and time again until it sticks. For me, the important thing is that as black people, we have the voice, but that the people who are the perpetrators of the racism do the work. That's how I feel.
Steph?
Okay. I think there was something that we had on our notes which kind of resonated with me a bit, and quite a lot actually, is that racism is making us sick. it's making our community sick. Although race might appear as always sold to us as a social construct. Oh, sorry. The impacts are real, and the hair is real, and all of the things that happen off the back of it are real. Sometimes I'm sat in these spaces and I'm always like, ugh, why am I here? Like, why am I here? I think you described me as an expert by experience, and I think I was forced into this world of anti-racism because of the murder of my brother on these very streets here. So I don't live here no more because I can't be arsed. But I still love the city and I love what it stands for. And I think that in my mind, after my family experienced what we experienced, I thought that like education or going into CBT and doing all of these very Western things was going to be the way out, and it was going to give the answers and the solutions and the repair that we needed. But in doing the work and learning, it's understanding that racial stress elevates blood pressure. It puts us in survival mode. It creates anxiety, disconnection, and the list goes on. And I'm going to just keep going. So tell me to shut up.
No,
if you need
please,
to.
list it.
It's understanding what living in survival mode does. It's how our body and how we embody those stresses, the physical, the mental exhaustion. It's being overwhelmed. It's poor eating. It's increased endorphins, and when you have increased endorphins, that helps us to be numb and be resistant to pain, or raises our pain threshold. So when you start thinking about all of these different things and understanding how that has an impact on us, but then also knowing it in personally and seeing how racism degraded my own father and all of these different things, it just makes me think, well, what is it? And it's understanding that healing is quite a personal issue. It's a personal matter and it's a journey. But we experience so much as a collective that we forget and we miss out the importance of collective healing. And the Western system wasn't built or designed for anything collective. It was a very individualistic approach. And I think it's bell hooks that puts it well. Rarely, if ever, are any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion. And I think we forget those things. And another amazing lady is Dr. Marimba Arni, who talks and discusses the theory of how culture is our immune system and how do we use our culture and our racial identity for our betterment. And I think sometimes we've kind of gone along the journey of letting go of certain things, letting go of things to kind of feel like there's a necessity to fit in, which is obviously the opposite of belonging, which means you've betrayed yourself and who you are to exist. And I just kind of feel like we've given so much of our culture away. And I think my journey has brought me back to this place of, well, what are the strengths within our community? What do we hold? How do I engage with our ancestral practices and rituals and all of those different things to really kind of regain the control and take away that dominance that has been forced upon us. And it's understanding that our culture brings chaos into order. It brings order to chaos and its power. And our culture binds us together. Our culture is what helps us to thrive. And it's just really understanding how do we get back into that mind. Whether it is through whatever your thing is. Are you an artist? Are you a dancer? Are you a talker? Are you a writer? What is your thing that allows you to connect back, to kind of pour back into understanding how we are going to, I don't know, heal collectively as a people.
Thanks, Steph. So, Natasha.
I'm really glad that I get to follow you. I think you've really helped make sense of a lot of what I do. So as a dance movement psychotherapist, I actually come from a dance background, and it's really lovely to be here. Some of my teachers are on the walls downstairs as well. But to follow on, a lot of my work surrounds that our experience of race and racism is a bodily experience. It's not just a cognitive. Sorry? Oh, sorry. It's a bodily experience. It's a relational experience as well. It's something that's happening in our relationships with each other. And a lot of what you described as the symptoms is all trauma symptoms. And we can experience them in very different ways. Our fight, flight, freeze, and response ways are all trauma responses. Fight, galvanize ourselves to fight back, run, flight. And I would have to say one of the hardest is freeze. Yes, and it's when we become stuck in that system. And our bodies can't move and we can't run, and we can feel that sense of debilitation under a system of dehumanization. So a lot of my work is to take us away from not just our thinking, but how we've embodied the trauma, and how we can start to work a way of decolonizing our systems. And dance has really brought that to me. I have to say, I was speaking to Lisa at lunch and saying that really my first dance class was at home. It was the family party. It was, I always say my mum was the soca and my dad is the reggae, but dance always gave me a sense of freedom. And I think our bodies is our medium for experiencing the world. So, there's many ways. It's not just what we, I think you probably know, but 70% of our communication is nonverbal. And so, and then we get to a certain stage where we move into the cognitive space. But if you are in a dynamic, if you're in a race dynamic with somebody, there's something happening on the inside. And often, that is what is flooding our systems, and we can't think anymore. So our thoughts become hijacked. And then, often, and I'm sure many of us in this room have experienced, a conversation that just becomes complete, like, gobbledygook and futile, and usually just becomes destructive. Usually that happens because we've moved into a trauma response. We can't find our thoughts or feelings anymore. So a lot of what I do and how I work is for us to start recognizing that in ourselves and learning how these sensations and systems in us can be managed, but also just to come back to a sense of freedom in our bodies as well.
Thanks so much, Natasha. So, absolutely. I think that all of the panellists deserve a round of applause, and I really should have given a warning at the beginning of the panel that we will be touching on obviously quite heavy subjects. But I think also, and again I'm going to channel Assata Shakur here, she talks about the revolution needing to centre joy, centre love, within our practice, and this is part of the revolution. It's also going to be a very interactive panel, so it's not going to be your traditional questions at the end. So please, if anyone's got any questions now that you'd like to put to any of the panellists, feel free to raise your hand. I've got one at the back. Natalie, I don't know do you need a Roman? You got one.
Thanks very much, Leona and the panelists. Just wanted to throw this out to any of the panelists. Obviously, trauma, so you talk about flight and fright, and the link to physical health, because sometimes people just think it's the psychological part, but it has a physical element. So if anyone wants to touch on that, because it increases blood pressure, cardiovascular, peptic ulcer, but yeah, if you can touch on that.
I think trauma in itself, like you were saying, is it's how it is embodied, but we can't think our way out of trauma. And I think we need to get, having the knowledge and the understanding is one thing, but engaging in the feeling and working through the feelings is another thing. And I think, say the question again for me.
Oh, sorry, question again.
Say the question again.
Okay, so in terms of linking trauma, the psychological impact to physical health, because a lot from our global majority have a lot of physical health ailments, and the link between those lived trauma and the impact it's having on physical health.
Well, there's a lot of work out there now that kind of supports the fact that being in those states of nervous system. So when you kind of understand what all of these things do to you physically, not just when you experience trauma as a whole, so it happens to everybody. I think when you add in the race element to it, it adds those extra things that I was mentioning about increased insulin, things like increased insulin, high levels of cortisone, inflammation, all of these different intricate things. I think what we have to do and get better at is understanding how to manage those, work through them, understand when they are happening in real time and be able to kind of work through them. And I think some of the somatic body embodiment is amazing ways to do it, and sometimes it's so non-intrusive that the things you can do while you're sitting. So if you know that there's a situation happening in an environment that you're in, and you can just tap lotion, you can, like I say lotion, and it's more like a stroking sensation. There's so many different things that you can do in real time to help calm the nervous system, and also understand when you need to ask for help, which is something that we don't do, and understand when that is necessary and how to do it. And even sometimes the bodily actions we do, and a lot of us, I'm very much a talker with my hands, but sometimes that method of even reaching out is sometimes you're asking for a hug or you're asking to be touched or something, and it's being able to understand what those signs and symbols are to work with them, work through them, so you can come out the other side.
Lisa, did you want to add to that as well?
Can I just quickly say, sorry, if anybody's got a phone, I should have said it earlier, I did say it this morning. If you just could put them on silent, please, that'd be really helpful. Thank you. Sorry, Lisa.
Thank you. I think a lot has already been spoken about in terms of the impact of racism on our bodies, and that cortisol, I think, having really high cortisol in your body. I think what's also important as part of the conversation is, I think that a lot of the time, people who are from racially marginalized groups, people who are black, people who have racialized experiences, tend to be gaslit around what they're experiencing. It's not yet that it is mainstream to view some of the encounters that we're having as racialized experiences or as traumatic experiences that require trauma-informed approaches to respond to them. And I think that's something that we need to look at quite closely. Another conversation that we had with Natasha earlier on was just around psychology, right? Earlier I mentioned who our systems are created for. And so the knowledge systems that we have around black bodies and how they embody trauma, do they properly account for what it looks like for someone who is first generation, second generation? Some of my research, searching for belonging in higher education institutions, looked at a little bit of that. So as institutions, when we look at our psychological and our counseling offers, are they diverse enough for the population that we serve? Because that's where we see things like what they call the attainment gap, which is something that says that maybe black students aren't able to achieve as well as their white counterparts when they're in higher education. But the problem with it is that it puts the blame on the students. It doesn't say that we need to be better at identifying and resolving and supporting to resolve, right? Some of these issues. So I completely agree. I think we're seeing it massively in many sort of ways, in a way that it's affecting families, people showing up to work, how they show up to work. There's a general sort of association with blackness and struggling, and sort of an acceptance that, oh, okay, this is just how it'll be. But also an expectation to show up to work and smile, which is where some of the gaslighting sort of comes in. Because to go back to the context that we're in, a lot of the times, if I'm being honest from a personal perspective, I'm like, there's not a lot to be smiling about right now. Because not even technically speaking, I think it wouldn't be an unreasonable thing to feel that fight, flight, freeze, but like on a daily basis, the moment you walk out of your house, you're feeling that fight, flight, or freeze. And I know that that's been palpable in the last few weeks. Definitely for longer, but more so in the last few weeks. I know a lot of people who felt that when they step out of their door, they're already on guard. They're already worried. They don't know what's going to happen. And the fact that the world expects us to show up gracefully in that environment, I guess, is where I think the gaslighting is coming in for me.
No, I just thought you were speaking about the chronic condition that we live in. And it is a systematic undoing of ourselves. There's nothing that hasn't been affected by racism or colonization. So even when we're talking about the body and we're talking about our health, our food's affected. You know, what hasn't been affected? But it's living within this chronic condition that takes its toll on us, takes its toll on our bodies. And it is important for us to find ways to cope and to manage. And, you know, I think some of them, like I loved the presentation this morning, the keynote speaker, and as the music is playing, you know, I'm really reminded of how we dance in culture and how, you know, that the reggae, we hit the earth in that, in movement. We sway in that. It brings us a lot of soothing. You know, so there are things that we do in dance and in arts and in culture to kind of help us. But
some of that is very intuitive, isn't it? You know, like we just absorb that culturally without really understanding. There is a science behind it.
Yeah.
You know, when we think about resistance and we think about the dance of resistance, we think about capoeira, we think about the dabke in Palestine, we think about, you know, like you say, reggae.
Yeah.
When we think about the waistline warriors from Congo, I don't know whether we've got any Congo people in here. You know, this is about resistance that we've learned, that's been handed down, but we haven't really thought about what it means and what that does to us and does to our bodies. I mean, I just wanted to add one particularly good book by a woman called Layla Liverpool, and it's called Racism is Making Us Sick. It's a really interesting book because she not only talks about the physiological impacts of racism, so how that takes its toll physically, but she actually talks about as well about how racial inequality just doubles down on it. And this was something that I came across in my research around COVID. You know, when COVID first hit in China, there was conversations about this one African student who had not contracted COVID, even though he was in the middle of Wuhan. And the narratives that started to be developed around the world around this African student, well, African people, you know, higher level of pain threshold, you know, they're more used to working in hostile environments so they can survive certain diseases and illnesses. And then we sort of switched, didn't we? Because in the UK, what happened? Black and brown people were the first to be dying. So then it's like, ooh, what is it about black and brown people that they're all dying so quickly? You know, must be something inherently physiological about them. Why are they, you know, what is wrong with their breathing? Why do their, you know, organs not recover as quickly? And so what is the common denominator in this is this, and I think people have already mentioned it, is this mythological belief of race, you know? Race in its bioessentialism, and what I mean by that is like that we believe that there are categories that are fixed and that there are certain traits that we can attach to those categories. So whether it's black, white, Asian, etc. And that really, for me, was like really laid very bare in the COVID pandemic. It was like, wow, we're really relying still on these ideas that were created in slavery and colonialism about race and about black bodies in ways that we'd, I think, convinced ourselves that we hadn't, you know, continued, that we'd moved on, but we really didn't. And I think just to sorry, I know I'm the chair, but I shouldn't really talk, should I? But I just wanted to say something around Natalie's point around, you know, sort of like the research around what it does to our bodies. There's so much research around collective dancing, about collective singing, and what that does in terms of benefiting our bodies, how that improves our psychological well-being, our health, our feelings of connectedness, our feelings of community. What I'd really love to see is actually a dimension of that that looks at black communities and our experiences of those very same processes, because we know that sort of on a universal scale, yeah, there's benefit, but actually what is the benefit? What is the benefit for us individually? I've only seen one study so far around African dancing from Zimbabwe. What I'd like to do, if it's okay, is move on to the next question. Because I really feel like we need to switch the step, you know? We've talked about the harms. Let's talk about the repair. So what I'd ask each and every one of you to think about is, if the UK was to take repair, and like I say, reparations, bring the cash, and everything else, if they were to take it seriously, what would you like to see change in your own practice? So, you know, we've got an incredible array of practice demonstrators on this panel. So who'd like to take it first? Natasha. No pressure, no pressure. It's okay, just because you're holding the mic.
No, I can.
You sure?
Yes, but I don't want to, what I don't want to do is rearrange the question too much. I found this one the hardest. Yes, I found it hard. Reparations, which I do agree needs to be put in place, is still very external weighting, which I'm, you know, you don't have to agree with me, I'm done with. You know, I'm done with. I can't wait for freedom. Okay. Yes. So for me, it really does mean that we start to gain our own sense of belonging within ourselves. And individually, when I say individually, it's because we all now have different stories. You know, I'm a first generation born Guyanese, brought up in London, East London, then to South. That actually affects my body or culture and who I am and what I know. And along with my complexion, along with my hair, along with the lineage of my family and their ancestors, all of that matters now. And it can be difficult to navigate in, especially the current social political landscape that we live in. But if you can find your way to your own sense of belonging in yourself as well as us as a community, I think that, for me, feels like freedom.
I agree with that, and I think we need time and space to be able to do that. And I think if we're looking at how we can be supported in that, money, space, resources, given to black people to take as much time as it needs for us to discover our own personal journeys within that, because there will be overarching themes that affect us all, but it is a personal journey. I think that it's a journey that I'm definitely on, and I'm thankful that I have creativity as a tool to be able to express how I'm feeling and discover, more importantly, discover how I'm feeling, because when we were talking before about fight, flight, freeze, I think suppression should be one of the words that's in there. You know, I think I spent my whole life with a lid on how I feel. And the older I get and the more comfortable I get with not giving a damn is when the truth has started to come out. And it's deep, and it takes time to heal, and it takes time to be honest about the things that, you know, have affected me and therefore affected my role as a mother, and the anger I feel at my own mother, and trying to not hold on to those things, but trying to have understanding for a lineage that I didn't cause, my mother didn't cause, but the effects of all of that affects us all, and that takes time. I want time and space to discover what that is, and I want time and space to heal, and I want that for us, I want that for all of us, because I think we all need it. And how do you measure that? How long is a piece of string? Who knows? But I think that we need time and space, and we need a different kind of time and space than white society needs, because colonization and the effects of that they run deep. And the mainstream, I don't want to go to the mainstream for understanding, because we know through history we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that from a culture of perpetration. If that's the culture of perpetration, I'm not going there to find what I need. But having conversations in safe spaces with people who there's already a level playing field of understanding, is a good starting point, I think. Who knows? Yeah.
Can I just add back to that? I have to say, I agree. I don't believe that. I know the question is about reparations, but they're not going to free us. Like they're not going to do it. We have to do it, and they don't have the thinking system to do that. You know, we have to get rid of this hierarchical and black and white thinking. You know, and I think that's what sometimes the arts allows us to do, is that we sit together in a circle. Do you know what I mean? We sit together intergenerationally, and that's what comes back to that family party. That was my first lesson, because my grandmother is dancing in there, and my mum is dancing, and my aunts are dancing, and we really need to move away from the thinking that puts us against each other, and puts us into a black and white mode. So that thinking and what's needed there just doesn't exist in that colonial mindset. I hope that makes sense.
I think what I was thinking is, I don't think I want anything that the UK is giving. And I think I really would like our communities to really kind of take heed of the value and the assets that they have within themselves. I think about injustice and justice, and there's nothing for the experiences that I've experienced that anyone can give me that would equate to justice. So it's something that I have to seek within myself. We have to seek within our own family and seek within our own communities to really feel whole, when actually the system, people within the city have taken from us. I think it's taken enough that I have nothing else to give. And even if you were offering, I wouldn't take it. Sorry.
No apologies allowed. Lisa. We'll take questions after this last comment from the panel.
I think I would agree with my co-panelists just about the harm that has been done and the impact and effect of racism, and the need to create our own spaces if it is belonging that we want, if it is understanding that we want, and how helpful and useful that it is for our healing and our internal repair. In all sort of vulnerability and full disclosure, it's a challenge that I'm receiving directly, almost a reminder of what it's like working within community that is focused on feeding back into the community rather than looking outward. Because there's very little to gain outward, in truth. The amount of work that you do to try and create that repair, the labor usually falling on people who are from racially marginalized background, the return for that is minimal, and it is so rapidly eroded. And that's a concern. That's a major concern. I wouldn't want to talk about this without also talking about the need for the things around us to change. Because I think that we're so often told how we should see ourselves, and sometimes that filters into us. And if you haven't done any internal work, but you're living a racialized life, then you might go your entire life believing that. So there's a need for work on the outside too. I don't know if that's going to be a popular opinion, but it's one that I think is necessary. Because when we do our work in isolation, I fear that then it cannot bleed through our existence outside of ourselves. That's my fear, that's my concern. And it's not about us, the work that we do, necessarily having benefit for other communities. It's recognizing that, yes, our collective experience is powerful, but it is also true. And so, yes, it is worth talking about how histories are told, and that we should tell the truth of our histories. And the work that goes into doing that is not ours alone, I suppose. That's I think, a conversation that is important to also introduce to the conversation.
Can
So-
I just add something to that? Or yeah, or almost contest it lovingly. It's understanding that sometimes things happen, and this is, my mom speaks of forgiveness in a way that sometimes I find it hard to understand or fathom, but I get it. And true forgiveness and understanding is knowing that you still have to live, work, exist, thrive, and survive without a sorry. So sometimes it's understanding that the change externally is not going to look the way you want it, but understand there's still a necessity to live, thrive, and survive regardless of it. And that to me is the true understanding of or part of the true understanding of what that forgiveness and growth and development, and also back to the point I was making earlier, is understanding the cultural relevance and my racial identity, and understanding that I am from St. Thomas in Jamaica, and my people are rebellious by nature. Our wars that no one talks about show our true rebellion. We were a feisty, disruptive set of people. And in 2025, I will stand here as a feisty, disruptive woman to the system, unapologetically. Without the change, I couldn't give a
Say it.
about it.
Jennifer, I'm going to let you add the last word on this before we go to the questions in the room.
I think that we need to, I agree with you, I don't think that we should be doing it in isolation, but I think that, given that, I think as black people we don't have an infrastructure. Where's the infrastructure so that we feel that there's pathways to strength, to our autonomy, to our sustainability? We don't have that. We live within a white infrastructure. And so we have to coexist within that white infrastructure in a way that feels manageable on a day-to-day basis. So I think that the development of infrastructure can only happen when we talk to each other and find best ways of finding a unified way of thinking and supporting one another. Otherwise, we'll always be fighting in isolation. That's what I'm sorry.
I know that you said the last one. So, the last. No, so absolutely. I think I think the thought is very much embedded in that. It's understanding that we exist within these white systems. That's our context, right? And we have to. So far, we are surviving mostly within the context. And how do we thrive within this context, right? Whatever the course it is that we take, it calls that we need to have transformational change, where we have infrastructures that understand racialized identities, right? That understand what it means. I'm a Zimbabwean, right? What it means to be a first generation, second generation. My mom came first, but we came at the same time. Immigrant coming from Zimbabwe, which is an ex-colony, right? But also currently existing in a state where you see the consequences of colonialism. What does that mean, right? But all of that is happening within this context where I keep using this phrase, whiteness, which is like white institutions, white, the norm, the thinking around the norm is based on whiteness, right? So what does it mean for those two things to coexist and wanting one thing, which is around some of what we're talking about, the existing outside of the trauma and saying, you know what, I am freeing myself from this, and this is not what I am all about, because I too am human outside of my blackness, right? Yes, I want that. But where it is happening, it forces me to be in these two places.
Lisa, thank you. And I think that, you know, what the conversation demonstrates is how much we don't get an opportunity to talk that much about what repair, healing, liberation actually means, looks like, feels like for us, and that there are multiple things that can exist at the same time. A friend of mine used to say it's always a both and, not a either or. Michelle, you've been waiting a long time.
Yeah, I'm just going to give Michelle. I'm going to give.
If anyone else has a question,
I'm going to give Michelle the mic in a minute.
Give us
but
an indication.
One of the key things for me is having these conversations is so important, is because as artists and creatives, a lot of the time we don't go deep enough into these discussions collectively, and therefore our own practice at times, I believe, can then be damaged in terms of not being able to fully interrogate who we are within a creative space, and that's the rationale for this talk.
Hey ladies, Michelle Peterkin Walker. I've been training with Decolonising the Archives organisation in London to become an ancestral remains ethical rights enabler, and basically that's part of this whole movement of restitution, but the aspect of spiritual healing and repair. So you know the fact that we've got to retain some of our sacred artefacts as well as some of those what we call the human artefacts, what we call ancestral. So I've been working to do that, and I'm going to give this intro because the stuff you mentioned about infrastructure, it's what's brought me kind of here and this conversation. So there's that one work. I'm also involved in the museums, looking into archives. Obviously, the ancestral work takes you into people's archives and this thing of telling the true stories, some of the narratives, and unlocking some of these things. Again, I'm a creative, you know, and it was this question that we've all been exploring, but I'm still stuck again, because even as an ancestral remains ethical rights enabler, it's this issue where we've got to go back to these institutions who've made loads of money off the backs of African peoples, right? Or we've still got to go back to them to provide the money for these healing, you know, and it's like, how do we get out of this? And I know, and it's not like to get out of it, because for me, there's something what's got to be given back. I mean, you're saying given back, paid back, or whatever it is, that's the financial thing, but even the initiatives, what can happen. So for me, that's why I was key to come here, because when I saw the importance of music and dance as part of our healing and repair, it's integral. It's going to be integral to some of the ceremonies, these activities that we have to do to honour and restitute, but also just the fact that I'm also involved in my own research around carnival and shadow, and what you talked about joy. And I know carnival is is joy for our people. And I happened to stumble into the ISM archive, sorry, Auntie Maxine, not ISM, NML archives, and find some unlisted. There was 8 like pictures of Carnival 84 categorized. When I got to the draw, there was 200, you know, yeah. And I only stumbled on it because of what I've got an avenue into these institutions, and I've kind of made it work from my standpoint. But again, I say all that because it's about how do we really want to go about this to either draw that money from them, but independently, so that we can actually run these initiatives and do all these things, because this is all good what you talk about, but I'm also aware that there's other people's, we're not all in tune, yeah, with ourselves. So even hearing some of the dialogue about, having to look at, what is this feeling? Some of us aren't even there, knowing even that. You know, some of us aren't even in the space, and that's why I want to do these community engagement things to get more of that out, so people can go, that's me. You know, whatever that isn't as part of that individual healing, the collective healing, but how can we really go about it to draw it where we're at ease? Because we still got to rely on the slave master's money. You understand? So, yeah.
But part of that is they have a duty of care to provide that money and that time and space for us. Because when we talk about National Archive, that's what it means. It's for everyone. And we have a right to demand it, and a right, really, they have to listen. Because if they're going to call themselves, you know, Anti-Slavery Museum, then it has to mean something. It has to. And there are some of us who are further along in our journeys of being on the planet for longer, having more confidence, choosing that as part of our vocational work, to go to those organisations and say, look, this is what we need. And we don't need it to last for 5 minutes. We need it to last, it needs to be sustainable. It needs to mean what it says. Because I'm old enough to have seen this conversation happen time and time and time again. And with the best of intentions, it lasts for 5 minutes and then it's gone, and then we're starting from ground zero again. I don't want to see that. I want to see something that actually means what it says. And so when you say, how do we not go to them? Sometimes we have to go to them because they're the people that are holding the purse strings. But we have to go to them and demand an understanding, and demand something that's written in that says you have to deliver on what you say, otherwise it's meaningless. Because it's always about the sustainability where we fall down, and where we're left with even more trauma on our shoulders for getting so far and then it being taken.
provocative with the questions to my panel, and I do apologise, but I do think that there needs to be very deep conversations about repair and what that needs to look like what we expect. I was at a UN event for the People's Forum of People of African Descent, and one of the speakers said that the Church of England deciding that 100 million was their repair fund is like someone robbing your house and then telling you what you can have back. So, you know, I do think that there does need to be that level of conversation, but then maybe there is also the separate and internal conversations we need to have about what our healing and our repair looks like for us. I'm going to go to the last question because I really want to come back to the joy, come back to the love for each other in this movement. And I just want to ask everyone for one thing, one single thing from your practice that can help us feel restored, feel joyful, feel safe in this time of polycrisis, of crisis, of trauma. What's one thing from your practice you can share with everyone in the room?
Don't have to be too long. I think for me, Audre Lorde puts it well, and systems that are designed to kill if not harm us, self-care is an act of political warfare. So I just wanted to read something that I found, which I found quite interesting. The act of rest is political. Rest is resistance. It defies capitalism, white supremacy and colonialism, which thrive on extraction and exhaustion. Rest reclaims what was stolen from our ancestors, challenges ableism and disrupts grind culture. To rest is human, not a machine. It is bold, it's raw and revolutionary. Rest unapologetically. Resist loudly. Rest is not a reward, it's a right. It is a necessary part of maintaining mental and physical health. Rest gives us the space to recharge and return to renewed energy and focus. For Black women especially, rest is an act of resistance against a system that has historically devalued our time and our well-being. Rest is a reality, not just a concept. It's more than observing a specific day of the week. It's about a spiritual inward peace of wholeness, which is not dependent on external circumstances, but a deep and lasting rest for our souls. Rest isn't earned, it's a gift.
Lisa?
Well, I think we had the same sort of thought. I don't want to say anything above what Audre Lorde has said or what Steph has said, but I agree. I think for me in our practices is rest is validating that fact that you are human and you are worthy of taking a break, taking a pause, not to take a break from work or to take a break from resisting. Even within the resistance, you require rest. That's how your body needs the time to heal and to recover. And the trick with systemic racism is it will continue to demand more and more of you. It'll continue to say, oh, you need to do 5 times, you need to work 5 times harder. You need to do so much more for a little bit, for a third of what you deserve. And you could continue to feed that system, but you could also say, I need to rest. And if you rested, the resistance wouldn't fall apart, because that's why we exist in community collectively. It's for when you're tired and you need rest, for other people to do some of the heavy lifting, and for when they need rest, for you to do the heavy lifting. So I'm sorry not to bring anything fresh, but I think to just sort of reiterate the importance of rest and the need to give ourselves the permission to rest, no matter how hard it may be and no matter how many things. There will always be something else that requires your time and attention. But rest is resistance, right, is the quote. Absolutely.
Natasha?
Maybe everybody could do this. If you can just put both feet on the ground. Okay. And just feel your sit bones in the chair. And then if you want to allow the chair to support you and to drop your weight and to drop your energy down. Take a moment there. So we have different rhythms in our body. And sometimes when we're in a trauma response, we start to feel flooded, things start coming up. And as I spoke earlier about, you may be in a dynamic where you can't think and you can't feel, and you're losing a sense of yourself. Sometimes in that space, you'll start to feel an elevation rising. And that can feel quite overwhelming. Those are actually trauma responses. And I practice this myself. When I'm in that space, I drop my weight. I allow the chair, if I'm sitting, to support me. If I'm standing, I will feel the earth underneath my feet. I will sway. So if you give that a try, just a gentle rock, a sway. This is a self-soothing rhythm in the body. Think of rocking your baby's music. This kind of I hope you might feel your sympathetic system dropping down. You can always come back to yourself. Yeah, just remember that. You can always come back to yourself. When you're in those moments of trauma, you start to leave yourself. You come out of your body. That is part of our way of flight. Come back to yourself. You can hold your hands. Maybe different. Hold your hands and just feel. Remember you're here. Feel your own body. Feel your own presence.
Thank you, Natasha. Jennifer.
The breath. Breath is key to so many things. And breath is how we feel focused, how we feel centered, how it calms us down when we feel traumatized. If you want to stand up, if you're going to stay sitting down, then just keep your feet grounded, but sit towards the front of your chair. But if you're going to stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Make sure that your knees are not locked, but they're soft. Make sure that you don't hold any tension in your buttocks, and that your shoulders are nice and relaxed. Okay. I'll give you a pace. And I'll say, breathe in, 2, 3, 4. And when I'm saying 2, 3, 4, be taking that breath in really slowly into the pit. Just imagine you're taking the breath into your pit of your stomach and that you're taking it in through your nose. Then I want you to hold your breath for a count of 4. And the reason you're holding your breath is so that you have a sense of what breath support feels like. And then you're going to hiss very gently, like the slow release of a tire, for a count of 8. When you get to the end of the 8, if you have any breath left, just let it go. So here's the pace. Breathe in slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3. Hiss for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Release your breath. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3. Hiss for 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Release your breath. We'll do that twice more. Breathe in slowly. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3. Hiss for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Release. 2, 3. Last time. Breathe in slowly. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and hiss. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and release. Let it go. Great, thank you.
Thank you. So, if I can just wrap up, I'm just going to share something. Firstly, I want to say thank you so much to my incredible panelists here. This has been a very incredible experience of working with you all. I just want to share something that I gained from joining a community choir in New York when I was living there a couple of years ago. That the end of every session, we would end with the words of Asata Shakur. And I just want, I think, especially given her passing yesterday, that it feels right to do this. So I'm going to say the line, and I want you to repeat back to me. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other. We must protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Ashe.
Wow. Thank you, ladies. When we had this initial discussion, I wasn't sure where it was going. But as you say, we came into this whole 2 days knowing that we were in a fractured society and how inequality plays out for all of us, regardless of where we're coming from. But I think this was a really in-depth conversation that some of you who are visiting Liverpool will never ever experience anywhere ever again. So please take this away with you. I'd just like to take a huge thank you to Leona, to Steph, I'll never forget your face now, Jennifer, Natasha and Lisa. And interestingly, all the things that we've been looking at in terms of heal and repair are going to follow on actually, because we have 2 workshops that will follow on. The next one coming is going to be a beautiful healing circle with, his name will come on it, Alan Cation Crawford, sorry Alan, who did the libation this morning. So again, if you want to come join us in that would be lovely. And then an hour or so later, we have a call and response workshop with Irie. So again, it's finding our voices, coming together as a community, and at a level where we all feel that we can engage. So I know maybe Michael Jackson might have been just a step too far for some of us earlier on, doing our thing, throwing our moves. But I think this afternoon following is going to be a much milder, self-caring opportunity to practice together. So thank you all for being here, and we'll just take maybe 5 minutes or so to just take a breath, and we'll see you in the studio. Thank you. I love the democracy of this.
Great, thanks so much for coming. It's lovely that you're here. My name is Rachel. And the piece of work that we're going to look at today is from the previous piece that Irie Dance Theatre brought to the Blackie, which was Groundation. The piece that's on tonight is not the same, but the call and answer quality of Groundation we felt was much better for the call and answer workshop that we're going to do. I was involved in that as a voice coach, and Shay was in that piece. And in fact, Patton is over here, who was a choreographer. Sorry? And Beverly right next to her. Beverly, are you there, Bev? Oh, hi. Yeah, they're Irie Dance Theatre, choreographed the show, based more on traditional songs from the Caribbean. So that's what we felt would be more appropriate for call and answer this evening. So the role I have, because I'm not from the Caribbean, you can tell I'm Scottish, I'm going to warm up your voices the way that I warmed up the voices for the singers, because they had to dance with immense energy and sing without microphones for that piece, and that requires a huge amount of muscularity. So we're hoping to give you a couple of tips on how to do that. And then we're going to hand over to the immense and wonderful Shay, who will start the call and answer process. I'll come and help you if you need. We'll try and do some harmony work as well. Are you joining us, H and Beverly? Are you joining us? By all means. Are you just going to... By all means. Put your money where your mouth is. Yeah. Hi. Okay, cool. So The exercises that we're going to do to warm up the voice can be a bit mad. They feel a bit peculiar, but they're guaranteed traditional exercises that help actors cope with 8 shows a week, 22 songs a show. That's madness, but that's how they cope with their voices. So we'll just start. We're just going to put our hands on our face. So everyone, your hands cold, so make your hands nice and warm. And put them on your face and just press your fingertips on these bones here. These are your eye socket bones. You know when you see a skeleton and it's got big, and there's a big bone there? It's those bones. And then you're just going to... and just go all the way up and down your own little range. So, oh, you're fabulous. And don't be shy. We do this madness every day. And you can go squeaky. Squeaky at the top. Yeah, wonderful. Lovely squeaky. Right up to the top. Do you want to come in? Come in. And then down the bottom. Big bassy sounds down the bottom. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so that's the first thing. We've just said hello to our larynx, basically, and it's gone, okay, you want to work with me? I'm ready. Okay, so we're just going to go and do a little bit of call and answer right away on some consonants. So I call, you answer, okay? So I'm just going to go, da-ba-da, 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 da-da. Pa-ka-ta, pa-ka-ta, pa-ka-ta-ta-ta. Double it up. Da-ba-da-ba, da-ba-da-ba, da-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Pa-ka-ta-ka, pa-ka-ta-ka, pa-ka-ta-ka-ka. Mana-mana-mana-mana-mana-mana-na. Mana-mana-mana-mana-mana-mana-mana-ma-ma. How was that? You're good, you're up for it. I can tell you're up for it. Okay, so now we're just going to do something now that's a bit rude. Probably some of your mums and dads told you, you cannot do that. You're going to poke out your tongue, okay? Like that. And if you can get a curly tongue, even better. That's a great curly tongue. Wonderful. Like that. Sometimes people can't, and it's nothing wrong. It's just the way they're made. Yeah, it's just the way you're made. Yeah. So we're just going to go, ooh. So I'll sing, you answer, and the tongue comes out on what we call the fifth. 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. So it goes, ooh. And we help the higher notes by stretching the tongue root. The tongue goes right down here. Did you know that? It's like a big old thing. It goes right down here. So we're stretching it to avoid tension. And you can put your hands on just above your hips, yeah? And you can feel when you go, ooh, these muscles kind of go ping. Can you feel that? Ooh. Feel them go ping? Yeah, just under your ribs. Okay, so, yeah. So we'll call out together. Shay's maybe going to cross the room so we're not together because you can make more noise over there than me. Okay. Thanks, Shay. Okay. And, yeah. Oh, you're very good. Squeezy, squeezy. Keep the head nice and still. And the eyebrows up. We'll just do a couple more. That's wonderful. Last one. I think we need to just get you in the show upstairs. That's really good. Okay, so now we're going to do, I'll just do something that you call the moany kid. Who's got kids? Who's got children? Yeah. So you know what a moany teenager sounds like? Can you do that? Okay, so whilst that may seem completely frivolous, it's actually a really important sound for singers because it comes from a human feeling. And a lot of the work that we've done is towards the show that's on this evening, and also for Groundation, is to explore the feelings that you're going through when you're presenting these songs. And they very often relate to the sounds you have to make. So if we feel upset or needy, there's a tree in tonight's show that's very needy. It needs to be seen. And it's like that. So we're going to do the Moaning Kid once more. I need you to understand me. Okay, cool. Yeah. There's one. Okay. So we're just going to go. Wow. You got kids? Yeah, I can tell. Okay, let's do 2 or 3 more. Wonderful. And one more. That's wonderful. Okay, that's great. And then we're just going to do, shall I just do yeah, and then we'll do a sort of a big circle thing, and then we'll hand you over, because we haven't got a huge amount of time, so we want to get singing as soon as possible. So this is a great sound for, you know when you see, who likes Tina Turner? Rest in peace, Tina Turner, yeah? But when you saw her singing, you saw that, didn't you? Yeah, like that, yeah? So we're going to do that now, and then we're going to understand why she did it, yeah? Okay, so basically what it does is it flexes all the muscles that support your larynx. Even though they're right down here, your larynx needs them, even though it's right up here. So we're going to go, yeah. And when you do it, you're going to say the yeah, like, when you say yeah, it's kind of like there's a double E before the Y. Yeah, just say it. Yeah. Especially if you're American. I know we're being filmed over America, so hi Americans. We're saying yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you can feel that on your teeth, and you can feel it on your hard palate. That place up there. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. You're fab. Right, so we're going to go yeah. So we hold the 5th there. I'll just demonstrate with Shay once more. Yeah. So just do that. Yeah. 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 You feel how it helps you? Yeah. Yeah. And you might wonder why we're doing that. That stretches all the core muscles. Then when you get round to here, they're like, okay, we'll do the front as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, you're calling from the mountaintops now. Okay, other way. Yeah. Did you know you could sing that high? Okay, and yeah, yeah. Wow, we've got some hollers in here. A couple more. Yeah, yeah. Last one. Yeah. Ooh, I might got a bit of interference there. Okay, how are you feeling? So all we're going to do now is can you just walk around for a minute just to check that you're all able to walk around at a certain pace. I don't want to go too fast because we've got all different ages and all different, I'm one of the older ones here, so I'm not going around too fast. Okay, so we're going to go like this, 2, in, out, and walk around slowly. That's love. That is oh, you did the footwork before I even showed you. Have you been in on our rehearsals or something? Okay. And then we're going to go like this as we go in. Away, oh, oh, oh. And it's a 2-part thing, so I'll just sing both of it. Help me say, way, oh, 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 we. So I'm going to sing two parts. So let me sing two parts. Oh, way, oh, hold on. Oh, wee, oh. No, no, no. Oh, way, oh, wee, oh. Oh, way, oh, wee, oh. And then, oh, way, oh, wee, oh. 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 And some of you can sing, oh, way, oh, wee, oh. And some of you can sing, oh, way, oh, wee, oh. And some of you can sing, oh, way, oh, wee, oh. And you're going to go a bit faster, oh, wee, oh. Bit faster, oh, bit faster. Yeah, oh, way. And then we're gonna turn round. Away, oh, turn round. Away, oh, go the other way. Away, oh. And now we're gonna try and go right in. Away, right down. Right down in the middle. Away, oh. Away. Oh, that's you. Oh, that's beautiful. Sing out. Away, oh. Away! Okay. Last two. Away! And hold the last note. Okay, well done. I just need to say hello to this. Oh my God, you can.
Okay, I've got to join you.
Oh, come on. Okay, long-time friend from London. That's so lovely. Okay, so we're going to hand over to Shay.
Apparently.
Yeah.
You good?
Yep.
Okay, good. So my part of this here, as the Caribbean person on staff, I'm going to teach you guys. If we get through the first one, maybe we get to the two songs. Yeah? Because obviously you have to learn the lyrics and then learn the tune and all that stuff so we can actually get into the call and response. So call and response has formed an integral part of traditional and cultural practices in both Africa and the Caribbean. And that can go from ritual to wedding to celebration to death, all kinds. There's a song or a story that is sung for almost any occasion you can think of. Yeah? The ones that we're going to look at today, the two songs that I've chosen are coming from Jamaica, and they're both part of the Kumina practice. If anybody's ever heard of Kumina? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. So we have an idea. Yeah. So Kumina is coming from St. Thomas in Jamaica. It is an Afro-spiritual practice. And it's regarded as one of the oldest retentions, African retentions in the Caribbean, because it still retains some of its original practices down to the language. They still speak Kikongo from Congo in Jamaica. That's how well it's been preserved, yeah? So, the first song is, I'll just sing it, it's called Come See Moon Rise. So, I'll just sing it so you get a sense of it. It goes, come see the moon rise, then Billy, one, then Billy. Come see the moon rise, then Billy, one, then Billy. Oh, follow the morning star, one, then Billy. Oh, follow the morning star, one, then Billy. Oh, come see the moon rise, then Billy. One, then Billy. Come see the moon rise, then Billy. One, then Billy. Follow the morning star down. One, then Billy. Follow the morning star down. One, then Billy. 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 One, then Billy.
and some were doing it. So there's,
heard it, yeah.
So if you sing, I'll call on one harmony. If you sing, I'll call on another one. And so there's three essentially that we're, yeah, the options.
So I go. Come see the moon arise, Bambili.
One bambele, which is the same as shake.
Then another option. Come see the moon arise, Bambili.
One bambele. So one.
Whichever is more comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Or come see the moon arise, Bambili.
One bambele.
Yeah.
So one. Yeah. So pick your fave.
Shall we have a rough try?
So you're doing the top one.
Chosen their one. You got it in your head? Let's hear it. Come see the moon arise, Bambili.
Oh!
Come see the moon arise, Bambili.
One bambele. Go. It's been a while.
The next song has a little bit more to it, as in, it's not amazingly complex, but it's a little bit more than just long band. Yeah? So let me sing it again. I'll sing it through once so you can hear it, and then we'll break down what are the calls, what are the responses. Okay?
Yeah. Do you need water?
We do that one together. That goes. And I wonder when me do your guinea waro. Yeah? So first one, second one is slightly different. The third one is the same as the first, and then that one we do together. Let's go slowly again. I go. Waro, guinea waro. I go. Waro, guinea waro.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to African Roots Equal Measures. Delighted to be presenting Atalia Johnson's Untold Stories of a Carnival Queen. Just for a little bit of context, the performance does include some references to racism and sexual exploitation. And at a point there will be a little bit of pulsing light, so just to be aware of that. And enjoy the show. Afterwards, the bar is open. Thank you very much.
(1957). Hilaire Farrell, her father, a British subject by birth from St. Lucia, a British colony, arrives in Liverpool. 1957. A Liverpool birth on Mill Street. the beginning of her mother's story. 1957, Ghana is the first African country to gain independence from the British Empire. (1978), Italia Farrell is born, Mill Street, Liverpool. 1978, the birth of the Merseyside Caribbean Carnival. 1978, Chief Constable of Merseyside Kenneth Oxford stated in the BBC Listener magazine, "The problem with half-castes in Liverpool, many are well outside organised society." (1984), her first carnival, Merseyside Caribbean Carnival.
It's time to dance and enjoy ourselves. Don't be scared. This is the space for you to shine. Just put one foot in front of the other and let your body feel the rhythm of the steel pan. Catch your own rhythm and let the rest flow. This is our tradition. This is our ritual. It will connect you to your islands, to your people, to yourself. And we are all people of God.
Carnival is born of enslavement. It ain't about being pretty. It's about disrupting, shattering the status quo of racist, patriarchal shit. This is the space we carve, the space we reclaim, to release the madness, to exercise the haunted breath of our trauma. Look at me! I am wild like the devil, I am blue like the sky, unruly, untamed, yet to discover, yet to claim the full weight of true liberation. Here we are, pounding on the ground that enslaved us, dancing on the earth that raped us, vibrating on the land that tried to shame us. This is our ritual. This is our joy. This is our space.
1996, 17 and carefree.
Queen of Bacchanal. I grew up as a real good girl, always home, don't go nowhere. As soon as I was introduced, the carnival, the
Why were you so stupid? It was your fault.
I want to be that girl again. Goofy grin, gap in my teeth, joy bursting from my bones. I jump up on the float, music takes me. Body, soul, rhythm. Whining, chipping down the road. I meet myself again and again and again. Carnival is protest. A black feminist roaring color. Not for show, for survival. Freedom. My hips call ocean. Sweet waters rise. This wine is ritual and prayer and claiming. It is mine. Not for your gaze, for my healing, for my sisters, for every sit still we ever swallowed. In carnival, I stand tall. I don't need permission. I am whole. I decide.
spirits wrapped in the sea. My ancestors call me to be free. To cleanse the air, to release trauma, the ritual, to be seen. To exercise pain in movement. Juve rises, an ancestral call. A spirit of liberation and joy, shattering the chains of oppression.
Loving you, and the touching you, hate how much that you love, and the loving you, and the touching you, hate how much that you love. Whoa, 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 hate how much that you love. Whoa, 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 hate how much that you love. Paint and mud, that is love. Oh, oh, oh. Paint and mud, that is love. Oh, oh, oh. Paint and mud, that is love.
I watched them, so free, so royal, dancing with the wind, not chased by it, crowned by the sun. She moves like rhythm, she moves like freedom. She is unstoppable, and still they reach. Colonizers, abusers took the crown, called her shame. The crown was never theirs. It waits. It remembers. Here, my skin is a blessing. My voice, thunder. My crown, joy reclaimed. I feel her. My mother, taught to vanish, shaped by struggle, but still she gave honey, still she danced. The baton stops here. We choose light, we choose joy. We say, I want, I feel, I dance. As I place my crown, not borrowed, mine. We are many. The hips that remember, I am her, she is me. Our joy returns, and we rise again and again and again.
2025. I am because we are.